Strange, yet true stories. Tales from the light side, the dark side, and the other side. I'm Steve White. Alien Encounters. Are we alone in the universe? Every year, more than 5,000 people report seeing or being abducted by extraterrestrials. Despite the governments denying their existence, more and more people are reporting having run-ins with intelligent life not of this world. Here are 5 true submitted stories that might have you looking up at the stars. 1. This happened on July 21st, 2011. I was on my way home after spending the whole day in the town of Alice, Texas. I'm a construction worker, and I was looking at some possible jobs. I went to 3 homes that day. I talked to the owners to see what they wanted done and gave them an estimate. It was 6 o'clock in the evening when I started heading back to Beeville, but before I got on the main highway, I stopped at a restaurant and had some dinner along with a couple of beers. It was almost 8 when I started down the highway again. It was beginning to get dark, and as I drove, I went over the job numbers in my mind. One of them was very promising, with the potential of making a good profit. I called my partner on my phone and discussed the details of the jobs with him. I told him we'd get together tomorrow and hung up. I was halfway to Beeville when I noticed up ahead some moving white lights that were on the left side of the road. The area I was in gets very dark at night, and those dancing lights were the only thing visible against the black background, and there was no other traffic on the road besides myself. As I got closer, the lights started changing colors. They went from white to green, blue, and then red. When I was adjacent to the lights, I slowed down to get a better look. Then I stopped. I thought maybe it was another vehicle or something. The lights were bright and would move up and down, then move in a circular motion. I would say the lights were about a quarter mile away, but it was hard to judge the distance in the dark. I started thinking about the stories and reports I've read about people who've seen UFOs, aliens, strange lights in the sky, and all that stuff, and began to conclude I might be having my own encounter. I turned off the engine, leaving my headlights on, and rolled down my window in an effort to hear any sound coming from the lights. I heard nothing. It was kind of spooky. The lights were zigzagging, going up and down, when suddenly they grouped together and became motionless, like they were aware of me. Slowly, they started to get brighter, and I realized they were coming toward me. I decided I'd had enough and started my truck, but soon as I did, my engine died. I tried starting it again, but it wouldn't start properly. The engine was sluggish. I turned off the headlights, thinking maybe that would help. Meanwhile, the lights turned into a gold color and were still getting brighter. I tried again to start the engine, and this time it did. Then a startling thing happened. When I turned my headlights on, their beams started to bend toward the approaching lights. I kid you not, I've never seen the likes of that before. Is that even possible? I put it into drive and got the hell out of there. The beams straightened out as I punched it. I kept looking back in my mirror at the lights, and when they came in line with the highway, I saw the same effect of them getting brighter, which meant they were following me. Now I was scared. I was thinking, what are they? Are they some kind of aircraft or what? My speed was up to 80 miles per hour, and I was beginning to sweat like a dog. I looked in my mirror again, and now there was only one light, but that was a false impression because the lights were traveling in a single-file formation. They caught up and passed over me, one after the other, lighting up the interior of my truck in a golden hue. The lights went on down the highway ahead of me, reflecting their brightness off the ground. I slowed down and let them have the road. As I did, The lights made a left turn in that same single-file formation and headed toward the east. Again, my headlight beams started to bend in their direction. Simply amazing. The strange lights continued on their easterly path until they were obscured from my view by, I imagine, some hills. All this time, my headlight beams would start to bend, then straighten out, then start to bend again. Incredible. I didn't see the golden lights anymore for the remainder of my trip. I was very shaken by the whole experience, and I was so relieved when I finally reached home, let me tell you. 2. Alien Gray at Walmart. This took place on the weekend after Christmas 2014. It happened at Walmart in Washington, Missouri. It is absolutely true. I haven't told anyone but immediate family, but I feel that society should know that we have things that are trying to disguise themselves as one of us and be among us for whatever reason. My husband Charlie and I went shopping to get food for a big dinner I was having Sunday afternoon. We had all been sick over Christmas, so we postponed to the following weekend. We stepped into an aisle, and coming toward us was this person. I about died of shock when I saw it. It was about 5 foot 5 inches tall. It was pushing a cart with the tiniest little white hands with extremely long fingers. Its complexion was snow white. Its nose was just a little bitty bump, and its mouth was just a tiny little line, almost like a crease. Its eyes were incredibly large, almond-shaped, that stretched around the sides of its head. They were black and shiny like an insect's eyes. It was wearing a black, shiny wig that looked like a cheap nylon thing sitting on top its small head. Its neck was so small, about the thickness of my wrist. The neck went down into clothing that looked like it was hanging on a hanger. It was so thin. I don't mean thin like an anorexic girl, but thin like made of cardboard. I looked back at Charlie, who was right behind me, and he looked dumbfounded and sick. I looked around to see if any other customers were seeing what I was seeing. Of all those people in that aisle, there was only one lady who looked like she was going to wig out right there. She was pushing and shoving with her cart. She couldn't get out of there fast enough. The being passed me and appeared to go around the corner to the next aisle. I thought, well, I'm going to take another look and see if I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing. So I turned to follow, and this thing was gone. I'm telling you, it wasn't more than 2 seconds that I didn't have it in my sight. It was gone. I, of course, checked all surrounding aisles and found nothing. Charlie and I didn't say one word until we got into the car. I asked him what he thought it was, and he thought it was an alien. What else could it be? It wasn't ghostly or menacing or anything like that. My youngest daughter got her first job at Walmart the year before, and I'm telling you that place attracts the weirdest people. 3. While hunting jackrabbits in 1972, an aviation enthusiast spots 3 disc-shaped UFOs hovering over the trees. In 1972, I was 16 years old and living on a farm in Visalia, California. I used to come home from school, change my clothes, fill my pockets with .22 bullets, and go out hunting jackrabbits and squirrels. On this day, at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a warm spring day, I was walking along a road on the ranch that bordered a Thompson seedless grape vineyard. Something in my peripheral vision caught my eye, and I turned to see 3 flying discs just above the tops of the valley oak trees at the end of the vineyard. There were 3 of them, 2 close together and a third one trailing them. They were about 100 yards away from me at an elevation of 70 or 80 feet, traveling about 30 miles per hour. They were flat on the bottom with sides that sloped up at about a 50-degree angle. They appeared to be flat on top also, but I'm not sure because they were so close to me I couldn't really see the tops. They looked like dull stainless steel. They were completely silent. I watched them for about 10 seconds. When they reached the end of the vineyard, they suddenly accelerated, and all I saw was a red blur in the sky, and they were gone. My father was an anti-aircraft gunner in World War II and an aviation enthusiast. We used to park at the airport and watch planes land when I was little. At the time of my sighting, I was taking flying lessons and studying to pass the FAA written exam. I knew every aircraft in the sky, and these were not airplanes, helicopters, or lighter-than-air aircraft. They were something unexplainable. I know what I saw, and from that moment on, I knew that UFOs are real. Interestingly, shortly after my sighting, a girl claimed to have seen a UFO land at Green Acres Elementary School behind her house. I, of course, couldn't wait to tell my friends at school the next day and was shocked to have them laugh in my face. I learned to keep my sighting to myself. It's sad, really, how closed-minded so many people are. The phenomenon deserves to be studied. 4. This incident took place in Shelby County, Tennessee, right outside of Memphis's city limits. It happened when I was 15 years old in 2003. The sun had just set with still an orange glow in the sky that was quickly fading. A small group of friends lived in my neighborhood, and I was the youngest of this group. One friend was in his graduating year and about to leave for the University of Tennessee. He and I were standing in a neighborhood street outside of a cove, waiting on another friend to come out of his house. We were making small talk and facing each other. As he was talking, I noticed a low-flying craft in the distance heading in our direction, moving very slowly. I cut him off mid-sentence and told him, "Look at this helicopter coming our way." He turned around and only said, "That's not a helicopter." As it approached, we had no clue what it was. It flew directly over us at an extremely low altitude and speed. I could have picked up a rock and hit it. It was a massive triangular craft with 3 lights on it, one on each corner. It made a humming noise and sent off vibrations through the air. It engulfed us and blocked out the entire sky as it slowly passed by. We didn't even speak to one another as it passed and continued in a straight direction heading east and flying directly over my house down the street in its path. We both took off running after it was in the distance. When I got home, out of breath, I ran up the stairs and banged on my mom's bathroom door. She was taking a bath. I yelled through the door what we had seen, and she said she experienced shaking and rattling in the house for a few seconds, but that was it. I will never forget this, and I have never seen a UFO report describing a triangle UFO until I looked into it. Apparently, they've been sighted a lot, with the most famous sighting being in Belgium in 1992, involving the Belgian government. I feel almost honored to have seen one so close and at such a low speed right above me. It was dark black with circular lights. The whole next day, local radio stations were getting calls coming in from people who had seen the same craft near my vicinity on Highway 64 near Houston Levee Road. I am now 27 and have seen one other craft when I was about 23. This craft was a huge cigar-shaped ship at a very high altitude and at a high rate of speed. Interesting about the cigar-shaped one was it had to be gigantic from the glance I got. I mean, absolutely enormous. The triangle UFO was amazing and breathtaking. I never discredit UFO stories anymore. 5. I've seen UFOs and strange lights, and these incidents were reported. I was chased by a UFO, or at least followed. I had traveled some very remote roads in Nevada just to see what this seemingly empty desert was like. While driving, I saw an unusual dark round building on the other side of a small hill. I drove a while and saw mostly hills and tundra. Suddenly, I looked up and saw a dark, flat UFO that seemed to have me under surveillance. On the way back, I thought I heard something above me, and it seemed the UFO was just above the small compact car I was driving. When I reached the city, the UFO abruptly turned and left. Sometimes I seem to have flashbacks of an abduction. About 10 years ago, I had seen an unusual aircraft I reported as a UFO because I never saw something like it and thought it was unclassified or not defined. It made no noise and was a dark gray color, almost black. Recent cattle mutilation reports seem to describe similar UFOs. One evening, while driving home after the midnight work shift from a local gas station, it was raining. I was making a left turn, and suddenly from my right, a man in dark clothing with a gold amulet on his neck came running toward me as though he was in flight. He resembled a local priest. To my left was parked a black car, unnoticeably obscured by the darkness of a rainy evening. Around the car were these men dressed in black suits. We made direct eye contact from that distance. I thought I lost my soul and simply kept driving. Later one evening in San Francisco's Lombard district, I was standing outside a spy store where I was browsing. A man who spoke with an eerie voice, standing about 6 feet tall and large, said he was with the government and wanted to know about the UFO. He showed me a badge. I told him. He then asked that I never mention this incident to anybody. I knew why he said this. I knew who he was. I followed his car with my eyes and saw another man with him. They drove south. This has been 5 true stories of alien contact. Is it fact or fiction? Imagination or reality? I'll let you decide. I'm Steve White. Until next time.